So our next speaker is going to speak on the sciences, the approach to studying science. It's just about another 20-minute presentation. And she is Dr. Lois Hlangoti. So you may have figured out already that she's married to Pastor Mongezi Hlangoti. That's why he didn't want to introduce her. He asked me to introduce her. Because if he makes a mistake and if he goes home, he'll be in trouble. No, but really, Dr. Lois, also a member of our church family and part of our eldership. She's a medical practitioner, but she didn't start studying medicine immediately after she finished school. First, she studied a Bachelor of Science in Human Physiology and also went on to do an honors in pharmacology, and then went into medical school. And completed the Bachelor of Medicine and the Bachelor of Surgery at the University of Pretoria. She's currently working in a district hospital in Krugersdorp as a medical officer. And she's going to, having all these years of being involved in studying the sciences, she's going to share with you some of her experiences and also help you to develop the right approach to studying the sciences. So over to you, Lois.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good seeing you. I'm just going to quickly go on my slides. So I'm going to be speaking about the sciences. It's like the little brother, not even the little brother, but you know, the sibling to mathematics. So it's all connected. Okay, so the sciences. I loved the presentation. Nosipho was so brilliant. I enjoyed that. I felt like, wow, varsity maths. So the sciences, I'm just going to quickly give you a definition of it, guys. So there's nothing to be afraid of, okay? We're not trying to downplay studying. Studying is hard. It's a lot of work. And I've been through like Kellen, so if you know, like the medical degree is like 6 years, but I've had to do another degree, so that kind of stretched. And for around 10 years of my life, I was just in varsity, studying. It's hard work. You feel like you're not going to make it, you know, you struggle, and then you get back up again. So just a quick definition of what science is. So basically, it's the pursuit of knowledge. So we're searching out knowledge, we're seeking information, and not just pursuing, but also applying that knowledge and understanding. So you've got this inquisitive mindset. And so we want to understand the natural world as well as the social world, but there's different ways of going about it. So there's different methodologies, and it's always evidence-based. So the different methodologies that are used when we're studying the sciences, so there's objective observation, so we're using mathematics, like Nosipho had mentioned, so there's measurements, there's data, so you're processing all this information and you use mathematics as a tool. It's evidence-based, as I've mentioned, so it's not a pie-in-the-sky idea, but there needs to be evidence. Sciences, it involves a lot of experiments. So I remember back in high school, we always mixed up things. We had like little test tubes, and we were mixing things, and it was all about testing, you know, the different hypotheses. Induction, so when you're reasoning to establish a general rule or conclusion that is drawn from facts or examples, and there's a lot of repetition. So everything is all connected, everything is repetitive. It also involves critical analysis. So you criticize something, you go over it, you analyze it properly, and it goes through testings and verification stages. Okay, so just the different branches of sciences. I know it's a very broad topic, but we've got the physical sciences, so that's when you're studying the inorganic world. So it's physics, it's chemistry, all the hard stuff. And then we come to biological sciences. That's my passion, the human body. So biology, medicine, and that involves, you know, a whole, like medicine on its own has a lot of branches. So it's physiology, anatomy, genetics, everything. And then lastly, the social sciences. So basically studying the human behavior, different social and cultural aspects of the human behavior. So where does science come from? Very unuseful information. You don't have to remember this. But back in the day, this English word, a scientist, was it was coined by a guy called William Whewell, and they initially used to call them natural philosophers, which is kind of great. But that has been, in ancient Greece, that was where the most contributions of science, basically astronomy and mathematics, that's where it all came from. And then the names there, like Aristarchus of Samos, who came up with the idea that the sun is at the center of what we now call the solar system. And then guys like Galileo and Thales, like Nosipo mentioned. And all these names at the bottom, you see them all in the textbooks, like Isaac Newton, Robert Boyle, Albert Einstein. But these guys came around the 17th and 16th century to kind of bring this modern phase of sciences. So, but now this is what I want to get at when it regards to sciences. So where you are at right now in high school, in varsity, so what you're learning, it's building blocks towards what you're going to use in your future career. So, for example, with me, I had to study a lot of like the human body, how it works, so that I'll be able to know the dysfunctionality of it. So if something is not working, how do I fix it and get it back to its original position, or how it is supposed to function? So now you're thinking, but you know what, if you're going to be a doctor, you're not going to use that theorem of Pythagoras. I hated it, I'm sorry. But some of this stuff you think like, I'm not going to use this stuff. Well, it makes sense. Yes, I'm not using the theorem of Pythagoras in my life right now. It's not even like featuring anywhere. But it was stretching my capacity to think. And I think that's really important. The stuff that you're learning, it's teaching you how to process information, to think beyond like what you just are able to. And you need to also learn how to integrate this stuff into your daily life. And one other thing is you need to know that everything is all connected. So you don't study in isolation and like in little boxes, but you put everything together. And then again, you assess your ability to critically analyze information. So that's very important, putting the concepts together and reproducing it at a later stage. So science, again, you want to understand how things work at the core. So you want to understand, you want to get to the bottom of this thing. So understanding how they work at the core, why things are the way they are, and how are they, functioning, how are the different processes connected. And like I said, it's evidence-based, and there's formulae and theorems to it. Okay, so just quickly how our brains work. So if you now get, or maybe Kellen also touched on it, if you now get new information or new data, it's stored in your short-term memory, and this is in the brain. It's called the limbic system, but there's a part there called the hippocampus. That's where all the data is stored in your short-term memory. But if you don't repeat it or if you don't use it, you're quickly gonna forget that. So by you repeating and learning something and using it, you're gonna now transfer it into your long-term memory, and that's where it will stick. So then, like I said, it's very important to be repetitive, so going over something over and over to make it stick. And what I used to do when I was a student, by using associations, you make the concept stick. So make silly examples like, oh, I'm so thirsty, I need some H2O. Just kind of make it fun for yourself, so you remember this stuff. So you integrate it into your everyday life. One other important thing, the internet. It's a powerful tool, guys. Don't just use it for Instagram and TikTok. Use the internet for YouTube. They've got some amazing YouTube channels that I used when I was a student, like Osmosis, Khan Academy, Crash Course. So these are all just biology and health related. But there's various channels for mathematics, for whatever. So just use that to your advantage. And then other tips like mnemonics, like the one that I've showed there, my very epic mother just served us nachos. So if you read, you take the first letter, that's how you remember the 9 planets of the Earth: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and so forth. So mnemonics are really important. Flow diagrams, pictures. So some of us are not just I struggle also with just reading, so I need pictures. Some of us are visual, so it's good to use pictures. And then slideshows, those are also important. Podcasts, in today's world, there's a podcast for anything. There's an app for anything. I mean, even as a doctor, when you're practicing, you need okay, the drugs, the doses, there's an app for that. So utilize all these amazing tools that we have to our disposal. And then, just on my last slide, I'm going to finish just now, guys, almost there. So how to effectively study science. So if, for example, you've got a class coming up, very important, read before class begins. So you kind of like gather the information before you go to class so that you will be able, so if you didn't understand a concept when the teacher's explaining it, you're able to now at least, okay, it makes sense. But if you didn't read, you don't know what you don't know. So just read first before going to class, and then read more than once. It's important, like we said, repetition. And instead of memorizing or just like cramming this stuff into your head, but understand the concept. Understand why things are the way they are. Don't just take it at face value, but like get to the core, get to the bottom of things. And as mentioned, space out your study sessions. You can't wait 2 to 3 days before your exam. A good student will study on a daily basis. It's not always possible, but at least make that your goal, to study on a daily basis, even if it's like bits of information, but make sure that you are spacing out your study sessions. And most importantly, take quizzes, use past papers, test yourself if you still remember the stuff, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. I feel like these guys that have come before me have really touched on all these points, but it's just like a quick, remembrance. But you can do this thing if we've been through it. And I'm not like Helen, I'm not a nerd. I just worked hard, I just studied, that's it, I promise you. So you don't have to be a nerd, you just have to get in there, study, apply yourself, and also be confident that you can do this thing. But more importantly, you're a son of God, you're a daughter of God, and He has given us that ability. If all else fails, pray. That's it. Pray, you can do this thing. God will give you the wisdom and the strength to go through it. So we wish you all the best, and we pray for you that you will get through this phase of your life. And remember, there's a whole world after varsity, after high school, but you will get there. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Lois. I think she should get another round of applause for that. Scientists deserve a little bit more. So guys, we're almost coming to the end of the program. Just hang in there. We've got 2 more speakers.